A new case of COVID-19 reported in Muskoka, but are we at the peak? The OPP warns it's taking new social gathering rules very seriously. And we take a look at how school boards are keeping kids connected to learning. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for April 20th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. And to our top story, one new case of COVID-19 reported in Huntsville today. However, the man in his 70s has already recovered. Now, the health unit was not able to explain why it took so long to report this case, citing privacy concerns. But some good news, as health officials in Ontario believe we have reached a peak in the infection rate. However, all are warning this good news should be taken with a heavy helping of salt.
Even if we are plateauing or even peaking, it took us a while to get up to these number of cases. It will take a similar amount of time to go back down, and how well we go down will depend on how good we are about maintaining these controls. Everybody doing their physical distancing, keeping in place the closures until we feel we can relax them. So it's going to take weeks before you go down, and even then there's, as I said, over the course of the next year and a half or more, the potential for it to recur, to come up and to come down again, because the great majority of the population is still vulnerable to this infection, still hasn't developed immunity. In all likelihood, the great majority of people are still vulnerable, so there's plenty of people for this virus to infect again if it recirculates back into the community. So until we get to the point where we've vaccinated the majority of the population, we create a vaccine and then distribute it and vaccinate everybody, we're going to have to manage a cycle of recurrence of the vaccine, or of the infection.
Meanwhile, Premier Doug Ford had similar sentiments.
Today, we saw new modeling that shows there's some light at the end of the tunnel. The numbers clearly show that the steps we have taken as a province are working. And they're working because of you. They're working because we've all come together, because we're taking this fight very seriously, because we're throwing everything we have at it, and we can't let our guard down now. This virus remains a clear and present danger. My friends, we still have far to go, but thanks to our collective efforts, we're in a better position today. And I can assure you that we're planning for the future. I've asked our Jobs and Recovery Committee to develop a framework for a gradual, measured, and safe reopening of our province based on the data we're seeing today and based on our own unique situation.
Now, last week, the Huntsville OPP posted a picture of a ticket for over an $800 fine for a social gathering of more than 5 people in Lake of Bays Township. I had an opportunity to learn a bit more about that fine and what the OPP is also doing to protect its staff during this turbulent time.
The current new rule under the Emergency Management Act is gatherings no more than 5 people. So, and of course, then we also get into businesses that aren't deemed essential and opening, beyond the measures of the Act. So.
And what are the repercussions of breaking these rules right now?
Well, right now we do have the ability to charge people and individuals who are gathering in groups larger than 5. And that looks like a ticket, essentially. The fines are hefty. They're close to $1,000. As far as businesses and corporations who open and remain open in contravention of that act, they can face stiffer fines, and what would happen is they would get a summons to court, and Justice of the Peace would then decide what their fine would look like, which is way heavier than the out-of-court settlement that you would receive as an individual.
So if there are repeat offenders in this situation, do they just continue to be fined, or is it a sliding scale?
No, they could continue to be fined in the form of a ticket, but they also could then receive a summons as well, like a corporation, and then what would happen is the provincial crown would seek a higher fine based on the totality of the circumstances that they're continuing to gather in large groups. Then they could seek and probably would seek a higher fine then.
So during this past week, we did see one of these fines enacted in Lake of Bays. Are you able to give me details on that situation specifically?
I can give you general details. Again, this is more like getting a ticket, so not something we really want to discuss or certainly not celebrate. I mean, first and foremost, we're asking that people, comply with these orders and do these things voluntarily. And secondary, we would like to educate people on these kind of things before the ticket's written. But this particular one was a group of people from the Toronto area came up to Lake of Bays to celebrate, have some kind of birthday, Easter celebration, and clearly more than 5, and they ended up with a fine, unfortunately.
Was this at a residence or a park? Are you able to comment on that?
I believe it was a cottage they had rented.
Okay. So,
or a resort. I'm not sure precisely which it was, but certainly not their residence or even their secondary residence.
Okay. Now, I did want to ask you too, Jason, about some of the precautions that the OPP is taking. I mean, I know you guys are already trained in the way of being aware of your surroundings, especially in highly dangerous situations or high-profile situations. But you're living in a COVID-19 world now where the virus could pretty much be around any corner, and you're still executing warrants, you're still arresting people. What kind of precautions do you have in place to make sure that your officers are protected in these situations?
Well, first and foremost, our dispatchers and call takers do ask COVID-related questions when we're, in the initial stages of those calls and receiving those calls. So there are a series of questions related to the disease that they do ask to transfer people the most information before we arrive. Secondary to that, we do have PPE that we have issued to us, and if it's a scenario where we feel that it's appropriate to be put on, then we do, because of course you can't drive around all day wearing it because we'll go through too many of those crucial N95 masks. So plus the common sense end of it, we use it when we can, and then also use physical distancing to keep ourselves as safe as we can. But in this business, as in most emergency workers, we're at higher risk simply because of the unknown.
Well, I think I don't think people have unrecognized that the OPP are frontline, but I think you guys have provided, especially around here, provided so much recognition to our medical workers. With great showings of support. But I do personally, I want to say thank you to you and your forces, because you guys are also on the front lines. You're also risking your lives essentially to make sure that the law is being upheld. So I do want to say thank you for that.
No, we appreciate you for that. That's kind of you.
All right, Jason Foles, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
And thanks again to Sergeant Jason Foles with the Central Region OPP for providing us with more details. Now we are going to take our first break, but stay with us for more after this. Welcome back, and now we go to our North Bay station. Dr. Neil Mahara with the Ontario Medical Association joined Your TV's Greg Estabrooks to talk about the uncertainty doctors are currently facing when it comes to getting paid. Dr. Mahara states if doctors are not paid urgently for services done since March, hundreds of thousands of patients could be left without a doctor because they can't afford to pay staff or pay their bills to keep their offices running.
So the government on Friday announced to the media that they would provide what they've termed income stabilization in the form of a loan that would be paid back at some point in November thereafter. I'm not aware of the actual official offer to the Ontario Medical Association. They leaked this to the media. The devil, as you know, Greg, is always in the details. And so the problem with a loan, though, is many clinics' patient volumes are down significantly. So what the loan essentially does is it puts the cost of the pandemic management on the backs of doctors. And remember, the payments to doctors go to pay their clinics, their overheads, their staff, their equipment. So we will have to pay that back at some point in time. And it's not entirely clear that the volume of patient care will actually be able to do that. So you can't ask a doctor to, see 40 more patients in a day just to make up the payment of the loan. That's just physically not possible, and care will compromise. So if my understanding of that offer is correct, then I don't think that's acceptable. What's needed is a grant.
Thanks again to Greg Estabrooks from Your TV North Bay for filing that story. Now we are back to the break, but stay tuned for more after this. Welcome back. Well, last week the province announced it had secured iPads with cell phone connections to help kids that may not have access to the internet get back to learning. Well, according to a recent interview I did with the Simcoe Muskoka Catholic District School Board, they were already way ahead of that ball. Take a look.
So what I wanted to talk to you about was the release of these iPads. Now, as I understand, before I get into that, the school already has a program in place where it's lending out electronics to the students that need them. So can you tell me a bit about that first and how many students are making use of that?
Sure. So we have recognizing that not all of our students would have access to technology at home. We did a survey once it was pretty clear that we were going to be out of school for a bit of time, and asked our families about their technology needs. And that came back. We have about 1,700 family or students board wide. So that's all of Simcoe County and our Muskoka schools. About about 130 students in Muskoka who did not have access to technology at home. And whether that's they don't have any technology in the home or parents are working and so the technology that's in the home is the work laptop. So we've loaned out a combination of iPads and Chromebooks to our students, depending more of our primary students seem to be working on iPads, and then our intermediate and high school students are working more on Chromebooks.
Okay, so the province has mentioned that it has purchased iPads specifically for this type of thing. More, I believe it's for the students that don't have access to the internet at this point because it has the Rogers wireless signal on it. So will the school board be looking to take advantage of that program as well?
Well, that was, the minister made that announcement on Friday, and we weren't aware that that was happening, that program was happening. So what we had done is we've purchased cell phones, Rogers cell phones, and then students will be able to access to hotspot for an internet connection. So that's the route that we've gone. So we haven't heard from the ministry yet what their plan is around the iPads. But if it was feasible, then for sure we would want to participate in that. But until we hear a little bit more about it, we're trying to get technology distributed to students as soon as we can. So we're hoping our cell phones, hopefully they arrived at the board office today, and hope to have those out later this week or early next week to get those out into the hands of our families.
So just to get clarification, those cell phones, are those specifically for the students, again, that don't have access to internet at this point?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So if they don't have and we know there are lots of places in the community. I know Muskoka is one where there are lots of spots where there are not internet connections. And then hopefully being able to hotspot to a cell phone might be one option. And to give kids access to the digital technology that teachers are using.
Just explain the hotspot situation to me. How does that work?
So it would be your cell phone would act as your data connection, right? So you would connect the phrase is hotspot your computer to your data connection on your cell phone, and that gives you access to the internet on your computer.
Interesting. So
or your device.
So the phone itself is the internet connection, and that allows them to hook up their laptop or whatever else they're working on.
Right. So it utilizes the data of a cell phone plan, right, to connect your device to the internet.
So that's something the school board itself has been paying for at this point?
So that's something that we'll be paying for through the school board. Yeah, it's no cost to families to have to be signing up for that.
Just for reference on that, so will you be looking to recoup the cost for that from the government as well, since it's technically the same program they're rolling out, but you've already kind of gone ahead with it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that. I'm not sure because we haven't seen what the government program looks like at all. So, but I mean, we recognize that the dollars that we're using are all ministry dollars, right? So, we want to get the devices in the hands of our children as soon as possible so that they don't feel like they're falling behind. So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. I'm just curious too, how many kids are going to be taking advantage of that specific cell phone program? Do you have a number on that?
We have about 400 families board wide, about 55 families that we know of in Muskoka itself.
Okay, 55 that are without any internet connection right now.
That we're aware of, yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. And will all of them be able to use that? Because I know there are some areas that don't even have cell phone connection at this point.
And that's something I'm not entirely sure of. I mean, we're going to connect with our families, get the devices out to them, and hopefully most of them will be able to connect in that way. And then if not, we'll have to speak to those families that aren't able to directly and just figure out, are there some other options? Will we have to go some old school paper packages that we get delivered to them, or would they be able to connect to some of our school sites where they could access the technology from an open access internet connection at a school site might be an option as well. Of course, having to follow all those rules around the physical distancing and all those sorts of things, but
of course.
Yeah.
Do you have a timeline?
you were saying you're hoping they were showing up to the board office today. Is there a specific timeline you have in mind of when you can be rolling or handing these cell phones out?
We're hoping to either by the end of this week or early next week be able to get them in the hands of our families. They have to be received at the board office, and then they have to get tagged, and then we have to make sure that we've got a safe delivery process to get them out to families, but which takes a bit of time, but we hope to get them out late this week or early next week.
All right, we're taking another break, but stay tuned for more after this. Welcome back. Earlier today, Huntsville Mayor Karen Terziano was in studio to record a community message on the COVID-19 situation. In that message, the mayor spoke of some of the services still up and running at the municipality.
There's still a total fire ban in place, and that means absolutely no burning at any time. Our parks, playgrounds, and beaches, facilities, and libraries are still closed. Our building department is still operational as they work from home and from their trucks, and they continue to do any inspections allowed by the province that are safe. And they are still reviewing building applications so that your permit will be ready when it's safe to resume construction. As well, our planning department continues to process applications and are working towards a solution to providing public input so that we might resume planning consents and zoning soon. Our boat launches are still currently open, but social distancing and no gatherings of more than 5 people still apply. We are currently in discussions with regard to community gardens, yard sales, and garage sales. The road construction project on King William Street has resumed with detours, but essential businesses in the construction area remain open. We know there are folks struggling right now, and every day additional federal and provincial programs become available. Our website through the COVID-19 link will take you to any of these programs. For local businesses, the Town BIA and Huntsville Chamber of Commerce have a forum page set up to share ideas on how to support one another during this time. Please join the conversation at myhuntsville.ca and share how you are handling the impact of COVID-19. This week, the first half of a $1.3 million allotment called the Social Services Relief Fund is being distributed throughout Muskoka by the district and will address food insecurities and rent stresses. I'm still getting multiple emails and from folks concerned about seasonal residents, lack of social distancing, family gatherings, etc. But let's just remember that if we all do the right thing, and that means staying home, shopping no more than once a week, and just being nice, thoughtful people, we will survive this. It's really who we are in regular times, so why not now?
And you can see the entire message from Mayor Terziano on our website, yourtv.tv. We are taking our last break, but stay tuned for our daily recap after this. Welcome back. Let's take a look again at what made headlines today. Another case reported in Muskoka for COVID-19. However, the man in his 70s has already recovered. Both locally and provincially, health officials are projecting we may have peaked in the infection rate. However, they are warning everyone to still be cautious because we are nowhere near out of the woods just yet. And finally, schools are now adopting new technology to help kids stay connected to learning, even the ones that can't get internet. We'll continue to have more details on that as they become available. And you can always stay up to date on the local COVID-19 situation by watching Cogeco News or 24/7 on our website and our Facebook page. And that's Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And remember to watch me live at 5 Monday to Thursday. From everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Stay home, stay safe.